When developing an application like Stella, our nucleus RTOS-powered self-balancing robot, it is useful to generate and visualize kernel and application-level trace data. We previously built, loaded, and ran the Stella application using Mentor Graphics Nucleus Ready Start and Sourcery CodeBench embedded software development tools. During execution, the Nucleus RTOS and Stella application layers wrote trace data to an onboard buffer. We then invoked Sourcery Analyzer to download and visualize the trace data. Here we see the Nucleus execution profile view of Stella, including CPU utilization, high and low priority interrupt service routines, and tasks including the balance control task and the display update task. Sourcery Analyzer allows us to zoom in and out of the trace timeline to more closely examine areas of interest. Here we see the start of execution for software components of the Nucleus RTOS and Stella application. Sourcery Analyzer can help engineers better understand their platforms through a wide variety of measurement and analysis tools. In this segment, we'll measure interrupt latency using the cursor tool. The interrupt latency is the time difference between when the CPU goes from idle to busy and when the interrupt service routine begins running. Cursors take the form of a vertical bar and indicate the state of each component with labels. Selecting a particular graph component, we can use the previous and next event buttons to snap the cursor through state transitions on that line. Here we've placed the cursor at the CPU's transition from idle to busy. Now we've added a second cursor and moved it to the interrupt service routine's transition from stopped to running. The time delta between the two cursors appears as a label at the bottom of the second cursor. For this particular interrupt, the latency was 4.536 microseconds. As a point of reference, the system clock on Stella's microcontroller runs at 80 MHz, meaning a clock cycle lasts 0.0125 microseconds. Therefore, the interrupt latency measured lasted nearly 363 clock cycles. Instrumentation does have an effect on overall interrupt latency, making this measurement method unsuitable for generating interrupt latency marketing benchmarks. However, these sorts of measurements allow engineers to compare candidate platforms for workload suitability and achieve desired performance targets. Learn more about Mentor Graphics embedded software platforms, tools, and services at mentor.com/embedded.